In a garden long ago, a promise was broken, but on a Sunday morning that changed everything, a promise was kept. The story I'm about to tell you has been told for thousands of years, yet somehow it remains as fresh as morning dew. It's a story of betrayal and courage, of suffering and redemption, of an ending that became the most beautiful beginning. This is the Easter story. Jerusalem buzzed with anticipation that spring. The ancient city, crowned with its magnificent temple, swelled with pilgrims arriving for Passover. Among them was a teacher from Galilee whose reputation had spread like wildfire throughout Judea. Some called him rabbi, others prophet. His followers whispered another title, Messiah. His name was Jesus of Nazareth. For 3 years, he had walked the dusty roads of Israel, teaching with an authority that astonished the crowds. He spoke of a kingdom unlike any they had imagined, not one of military might or political power, but of love, forgiveness, and transformation of the heart. He healed the sick, embraced the outcast, and challenged the powerful with nothing but truth on his lips. The religious leaders watched him with growing alarm. This man threatened everything they had built. When he raised Lazarus from the dead, their tolerance evaporated. "It is better that one man should die for the people," the high priest declared, "than that the whole nation should perish." The decision was made. Jesus must be eliminated. But first, he would enter Jerusalem one last time. As his disciples secured a young donkey, just as ancient prophecy foretold, Jesus prepared for what he alone fully understood, a journey toward suffering that would break the chains of death itself. The crowds that lined the road that Sunday waved palm branches and shouted, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord!" They spread their cloaks on the ground before him, welcoming him as royalty. Yet as Jesus crested the hill and Jerusalem came into view in all its glory, he wept over the city. "If you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace," he said through tears. He alone could see what was coming. The week unfolded with escalating tension. Each day, Jesus taught in the temple courts, his words drawing the crowds and infuriating his enemies. Each night, he retreated to the quiet of the Mount of Olives, knowing his hours were numbered. On Thursday evening, he gathered his closest followers in an upper room. The Passover meal was laid before them, unleavened bread, bitter herbs, and wine, the ancient symbols reminding them of their ancestors' deliverance from slavery in Egypt. But Jesus gave these elements new meaning. He took bread, broke it, and said, "This is my body, given for you." Then he took the cup and said, "This is my blood of the covenant, poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." His disciples didn't understand. How could they? Even when he knelt before them and washed their feet, a servant's task, they couldn't grasp what was happening. Even when he told them plainly, "One of you will betray me," they couldn't imagine the night's coming darkness. After supper, they walked to a garden called Gethsemane. Under ancient olive trees, Jesus moved away from his friends and fell to his knees in prayer. "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." Such was his anguish that his sweat fell like drops of blood. 3 times he returned to his disciples, finding them asleep. "Could you not keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked, his voice heavy with sorrow. Then came the sound of approaching footsteps. Torches pierced the darkness. At their head walked Judas, one of his own. "Greetings, Rabbi," Judas said, and kissed him on the cheek. With that signal, the temple guards seized Jesus. His disciples scattered into the night, their brave promises of loyalty evaporating like morning mist. What followed was a mockery of justice. Through the night, Jesus was shuttled between authorities, first to Annas, then to Caiaphas, the high priest, then to the Sanhedrin. False witnesses contradicted each other. The high priest tore his robes in manufactured outrage. "He has spoken blasphemy," he declared. By dawn, they had what they wanted, grounds to demand his execution. But only the Roman governor could authorize crucifixion. So they took Jesus to Pontius Pilate, who found himself in a political dilemma. He could find no basis for a charge against this silent prisoner. Yet the crowd, incited by the chief priests, screamed for blood. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate made one last attempt. It was customary to release a prisoner at Passover. He offered them a choice, Jesus or Barabbas, a notorious criminal. Surely they would choose to free Jesus. "Give us Barabbas!" the crowd roared. "What shall I do with Jesus?" Pilate asked. "Crucify him!" Pilate washed his hands before the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he declared, passing sentence on himself as much as on Jesus. Then came the scourge, leather thongs embedded with metal and bone that tore flesh from bone. A crown of thorns was pressed into his brow. A purple robe was thrown around his shoulders in cruel mockery. "Hail, King of the Jews!" the soldiers sneered, striking him with their fists. Through streets lined with jeering onlookers, Jesus carried his cross until his strength gave out. The Romans pressed a passerby, Simon of Cyrene, into service to carry it the rest of the way to Golgotha, the place of the skull. There they nailed his hands and feet to the rough wood and raised the cross between two thieves. Above his head, Pilate had ordered a sign, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." From noon until 3, darkness covered the land. Jesus spoke only a few times from the cross. He asked forgiveness for his executioners. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." He ensured his mother would be cared for. He promised paradise to a repentant thief dying beside him. And then, the cry that still echoes through history, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Finally, knowing all was accomplished, he said, "It is finished." With those words, not of defeat but of victory, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. The earth shook, rocks split. In the temple, the massive curtain that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the sanctuary tore in two from top to bottom. A Roman centurion, witnessing everything, said in awe, "Surely this was the Son of God." As evening approached, a wealthy follower named Joseph of Arimathea went boldly to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. With Nicodemus, another secret disciple, he wrapped the body in linen cloths with spices, according to Jewish burial customs, and placed it in his own new tomb cut out of rock. They rolled a stone against the entrance and went away. The next day was Sabbath. The tomb lay silent. His followers hid behind locked doors, their hopes crushed, their futures uncertain. They had left everything to follow him. Now what? Sunday morning came, the first day of the week. Before dawn, Mary Magdalene and other women approached the tomb with spices to complete the burial preparations. They wondered who would roll away the stone for them. But when they arrived, they found the stone already moved. The tomb was empty. Suddenly, dazzling figures appeared, angels, who asked, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen." The women ran to tell the disciples, but their words seemed like nonsense to the grief-stricken men. Peter and John raced to the tomb. They found the linen cloths lying there, the head covering folded separately, but no body. Mary Magdalene remained at the tomb weeping. Through her tears, she saw someone she took to be the gardener. "Woman, why are you crying?" he asked. "Who are you looking for?" "Sir, if you have carried him away," she said, "tell me where you have put him." He spoke just one word, Mary. At the sound of her name, recognition dawned. "Rabboni," she cried. "Teacher." Jesus told her, "Go to my brothers and tell them I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." That evening, the disciples were together behind locked doors, still afraid. Suddenly Jesus stood among them. "Peace be with you," he said, showing them his hands and side. Their fear turned to overwhelming joy. Over the next 40 days, Jesus appeared to many others, to 2 travelers on the road to Emmaus, to 7 disciples by the Sea of Galilee, to more than 500 at one time. He ate with them, taught them, and prepared them for what was to come. He told them, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." Then, on a mountain outside Jerusalem, as they watched, he was taken up into heaven. This is the Easter story. Not a myth or legend, but the turning point of history. The moment when death was defeated, sins forgiven, and the way opened for us to know God personally. The question is, what will you do with this story? For 2,000 years, it has transformed lives and reshaped civilizations. It offers hope that our darkest Friday can be followed by the brightest Sunday. It declares that love is stronger than hate, that light overcomes darkness, that nothing, not even death, can separate us from God's love. This Easter, I invite you to consider what this story means for you. Perhaps like those first disciples, you're being called to see with new eyes. To recognize that the one they called teacher is calling your name too. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How has the Easter story impacted your life? Or if you're hearing it in a new way today, what stood out to you? Remember to subscribe for more stories that have shaped our world and can reshape your life. Until next time, may you know the peace that only the risen Christ can bring.